Soccer, a sport full of passion and emotions, also has a dark side: cheating. Throughout history, we have seen players resort to questionable strategies to change the course of a match. In this video for Daily Soccer Planet, we will review some of the most shocking cheats that have marked the world of soccer. Get ready to relive these controversial moments. Diego Maradona's Hand of God. Genius and figure, Diego Armando Maradona, classified as one of the greatest players in the history of world football, marked an era, and in the Mexico '86 World Cup, he was the undisputed figure. In that World Cup, Maradona scored 2 goals that are remembered to this day for their mastery, but another, not so much. On June 22, 1986, the Azteca Stadium field witnessed the Hand of God. Argentina and England were fighting for a ticket to the World Cup semi-finals. The match was 0-0 in the first half, but quickly, 5 minutes into the second half, the story would change. Diego Armando Maradona received the ball at 5:17 in the third quarter of the field, cut past the first defender, drove down the middle of the field, and faced with 3 English defenders, passed the ball to Jorge Valdano, who received it poorly and in his eagerness to reject it. The Englishman Steve Hodge threw the ball high back, and there, the unthinkable happened. Maradona stood up and with his hand won the ball from goalkeeper Peter Shilton to make it 1-0. It was the 51st minute. Diego Maradona was dribbling the ball down the center of the field looking for Jorge Valdano until the English defender, Steve Hodge, cut off the pass. In a kind of parabola, the ball fell between Maradona and goalkeeper Peter Shilton. Both jumped, but the Argentine, putting his body on the line, rose into the air as if possessed by divine grace, which pushed him to score the first goal with his hand. The Tunisian referee, Ali Benachour, gave it as valid without hesitation. Although it was an illegal goal, the world press recognized it as the goal of the Hand of God. The Hand of God, or the biggest cheat in the world. But that was not all, because 4 minutes later, the number 10 of the Albiceleste crowned the match with a masterful play, a work of art, a match for the ages. The referee of that match spoke about the controversial play. Speaking to the BBC, he said, "I didn't see the goal from the handball. I was confused by Shilton's hand, which blocked Diego's, but the Bulgarian linesman, Bodgan Dochev, had a better angle of vision than me and told me that it was a legal play, so I applied to the letter the rules that FIFA had given us before the World Cup," he explained. According to said rules, the referee had to follow the decision of whoever was in the best position, and what was funniest was that the person in charge of giving the call was a certain Walton, an Englishman. The jokes of chance, as Benachour reiterates, remembering how he was cornered by Gary Lineker and the others after the goal. "I indicated the center of the field to validate the goal, and I was surrounded by the English until I said, 'Please play,'" he says. It is true that without the mastery of the British players, the validation of that goal would have been very problematic. But it is also true that at that time there was not as much technology as there is now to be able to notice so many details. What the referee also remembers is that with the same linesman they had previously officiated a match between Paraguay and Belgium, which ended 2-2. "I disallowed a goal for Belgium because they were better positioned than him, and at the end of the match, Dochev thanked me. It was not easy to communicate in such a short time. You had to express yourself with a look." The same referee had been amazed by Maradona's second goal, remembering that they tried to stop it 2 or 3 times by force, and they couldn't stop it either. Diego did everything to stay on his feet, even though they hit him a lot. In an act of praise for the one who for him is and will be the best player of all time, who came from the bottom to impose himself on the others, going from Barcelona to Napoli to take the latter to a glory never tasted before. If you're passionate about soccer and love staying updated on everything related to transfers, the latest news and controversial stories like cheats in soccer, subscribe to our channel to stay informed about everything happening in the beautiful game. Thierry Henry's hand on the way to the 2010 World Cup. There have been few times when such a robbery has happened in recent football history. It happened in November 2009 in the playoff for the 2010 World Cup in South Africa, which, as you know, was won by Spain. France competed in that tournament, but without deserving it, because, returning to what concerns us, in the previous qualifying rounds, the French won in a very suspicious way against the Irish team, which was unfairly eliminated due to an incomprehensible refereeing error, and which, it is fair to say, would be impossible today thanks to the VAR, which with its errors represents an improvement for this sport. In the first leg, played in Dublin, the French team had won Euro 1 and were therefore looking forward to the return match, which was to be played at the St. Denis Stadium in Paris. However, nothing went as planned for the French. In the 33rd minute, Robbie Keane silenced the Parisian Coliseum with a goal that tied the overall score. There were alternatives, but no one decided the match in regulation time. It was time for a heart-stopping extra time. Fears seemed to lead to the outcome of the match being a penalty shootout until the 103rd minute, when the scandal came. The Blues took a free kick from the side. The ball reached the far post and hit the hand of Thierry Henry, who, out of inertia, took advantage to adjust it and crossed to William Gallas to score the equalizer. Double handball by the French player. A typical play that should have ended with the striker laughing, the referee scolding, and a yellow card. But none of that happened. Neither the referee of the match, Martin Hansen, nor his assistants saw the obvious. The members of the Irish team could not believe it and wanted to finish them all off. The Irish coach, the legendary Giovanni Trapattoni, was going crazy on the touchline, perhaps because in his long career he had never seen anything like it. They were all understandably furious, as if in a Martian situation that you cannot understand. But their furious protests were of no use. Goal for France. The hand of God, according to the French press, robbery in broad daylight, and armed robbery, according to the Irish. And if what happened in the Paris stadium was scandalous, what came after was even worse. Because it cannot be forgotten that FIFA, under the then President Joseph Blatter, paid the Irish Federation 5 million euros so that it would not report what happened to the courts. Then Henry suffered the unspeakable because he received numerous death threats and because that trap always followed him. The paradox is that the French qualification was of little use to them because they had a very bad World Cup in South Africa, being eliminated in the first round, including a revolt by the players due to the confrontation between Nicolas Anelka and the coach, Raymond Domenech. Hurst's ghost goal in the 1966 World Cup final. If it weren't for Maradona's goal against England with his hand in the 1986 World Cup, it would undoubtedly be remembered as the biggest cheat in the history of the World Cup. The final was between England, the host country, and Germany. It seemed like a tournament made to measure for the English team, which has never been good at big events. After regulation time, the score was tied at 2, so extra time was necessary. Before the first half was over, in the 101st minute, Geoff Hurst hit a shot that hit the crossbar of the German goal and then bounced off the line. The assistant, the central referee or whoever it was, decided that the ball had gone in. The German protests were of no use. With the score in their favor, England would end up scoring a fourth goal, but the really important one had been the third. In this way, England won its only World Cup to date. Luis Suarez's handball at South Africa 2010. During the quarter-final match between Uruguay and Ghana, Suarez damaged his reputation by stopping a shot with his hand. Suarez was sent off for this action, but it seems that it was worth it, as he prevented a clear goal, and the Ghanaian player, Asamoah Gyan, also missed the penalty, and Uruguay qualified for the semi-finals in the penalty shootout. Due to this action, Suarez became the #1 enemy of the 2010 World Cup, although he gave his team a life and was a hero. The goals disallowed against Spain in the 2002 World Cup. Spain had one of its best opportunities to overcome the curse of reaching the quarterfinals in the World Cup. It had beaten Ireland on penalties, with Casillas as the hero, and was facing the host country. Korea had eliminated Italy against all odds, but it did not look like a great threat. Spain had to win because it was better. During the match, it scored 2 goals, but the referee, Gamal Gander, disallowed both. The first was due to an alleged foul by Helguera. The second was especially painful, as the assistant referee pointed out that the ball had gone over the goal line when the images show that when Joaquin crosses, the ball is in the field. Korea then won the penalty shootout. The images of Helguera at the end of the match, in which he wanted to eat the referee, are now part of history. Busquets' simulation in the 2010 Champions League. Sergio Busquets is possibly one of the best footballers in his position, and he is certainly also one of the best at doing simulations to fool the referee. Perhaps one of the worst actions by the midfielder, and the one most remembered, was the one that occurred during the Champions League semifinals between FC Barcelona and Inter Milan in 2010. While protecting a ball, Mora slapped Busquets, who fell to the ground with his hands on his face. However, the television cameras captured how the Barcelona player watched the reactions, with his hands on his face while complaining of pain, waiting for Mota to be sanctioned. The Brazilian was indeed sanctioned, but Busquets' reaction was exaggerated and ill-intentioned. Reflection on the dark side of football. These stories show the darker side of football, where lack of ethics and refereeing errors change the course of matches. Although technology such as VAR has improved many decisions, cheating is still part of the game, leaving an indelible mark. Soccer gives us unforgettable moments, but it also has its dark side. These cheats are part of the sport's history and remind us of the importance of fairness in the game. Which of these cheats do you think was the most shocking? Leave your opinion in the comments or suggestions below. We'll be reading them